Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And just a quick disclaimer before I get this video started. This is going to be a longer video. This is a progress report sent to the FCC from T-Mobile. It says lots of info, lots of milestones that T-Mobile has hit in the 3 years since the merger has closed. So I wanted to go over that with you guys in this video. This is going to be a very interesting video. Some of you might be shocked. Some of you might not be surprised. But T-Mobile has hit just about all of their milestones that they set forth for the merger. They hit a good amount of them. So a lot of these documents are redacted. So there's some good information that's listed that's redacted that I wish we could have seen. Would have given us some good insight. But the info that's listed in these reports, it's good nonetheless. So let's get into the video. So hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And what I have here in front of you is a FCC official document sent on January 2nd. This is a official report card or progress report from T-Mobile and their progress since the merger closed. Now, I don't think there'll be many more of these. I think T-Mobile has met or exceeded a lot of their milestones and goals from the very beginning in the rural environment. And I think that was a very important one. And that was one that people had pointed out T-Mobile may have a hard time hitting, but it does look like they got there in a reasonable time. So T-Mobile hereby submits its third annual progress report demonstrating its fulfillment of the company's 3-year 5G network deployment and in-home broadband commitments adopted as conditions by the Federal Communications Commission, or better known as FCC. In its order approving the merger of T-Mobile and Sprint Corporation, in its commitment to the commission, T-Mobile pledged to build a nationwide 5G network, bring robust 5G broadband service to rural Americans, and deploy and market in-home broadband to bring competition and choice for consumers. So you guys get the basics here. That's what they've been preaching pre-merger, and they've been preaching that post-merger. So let's get to the good part. So T-Mobile is pleased to report that the 3-year milestone established by the Commission for nationwide 5G, rural 5G, and in-home broadband deployment have been met. So that's done. A summary of the company's achievement is as follows. And you guys can also pause and read this for yourself. I'll leave a link to the document in the description so you guys can check that out as well. 5G nationwide network coverage, sites, and spectrum. T-Mobile met the 3-year commitment metrics with respect to the nationwide low-band 5G coverage area, covering at least 97% of the U.S. population, and nationwide mid-band 5G coverage area covering at least 75% of the U.S. population. Indeed, T-Mobile's nationwide mid-band 5G coverage area of approximately 90% of the U.S. population substantially exceeded the required 3-year milestone. As of the 3-year mark, T-Mobile had also deployed more than the required minimum number of 5G sites nationwide, as well as much more than the required minimum amount of low-band/mid-band 5G spectrum averaged overall 5G sites deployed nationwide. So they deployed more and exceeded the goals that the FCC set forth as a condition as part of the agreement to let the merger pass. 5G rural network coverage sites and spectrum. So the first one was more of the nationwide deployment. This part is the rural network. T-Mobile exceeded each of its 3-year rural 5G network deployment commitments metrics. As of the 3-year anniversary of the merger, T-Mobile covered approximately 90% of rural population with low-band 5G, compared to the milestone of 85, so they exceeded by 5%, and over 60% of the rural population with mid-band 5G, which the original agreement was 55%, so they also exceeded that by 5%. Despite meeting its 3-year commitment concerning 5G sites deployed in rural areas a year early, T-Mobile continued to increase the number of 5G sites deployed in rural areas, further demonstrating its commitment to transforming service in rural America. In addition, T-Mobile deployed almost, again, that's the redacted, percentage more than the required minimum amount of low band and mid band. I wish we would have known that. That would have been good insight. If they would have said 10, 20, 30%, they would have let us know, like, oh, snap, they're really getting after it in rural. Not saying that they're not, but that would have been a good indicator for us to know. Averaged over all 5G sites deployed in rural areas. So they're getting going in the rural environment. They know what's needed. They know the playbook works. So as long as they can get network to these areas, the team is confident that they can grow share. So this is an interesting part. So they did a drive test. To verify compliance with its 5G speed commitments, T-Mobile undertook an unprecedented and exciting drive test to measure its network performance under real-world conditions. T-Mobile drove approximately 3.5 million miles, collecting approximately 5 million speed measurements in total. T-Mobile's drive test collected both stationary and mobile speed measurements in 500-meter grid locations covering approximately 96% of the U.S. population and 90% of the rural population. So they went after it. They tested, they did methodical testing, and they were able to come to this conclusion. 5G download speeds nationwide and rural. The drive test data shows that T-Mobile met the 3-year commitment metrics for nationwide 5G network deployment with respect to at least 50 megabits per second download speeds for 75% of the U.S. population and at least 100 megabits per second download speeds for 63% of the U.S. population. Similarly, T-Mobile met the 3-year commitment metrics with respect to at least 50 megabits per second download speeds for 66.7% of the rural population and download speeds of at least 100 megabits per second for 55% of the rural population. So that's a huge accomplishment, huge milestone. Congrats to T-Mobile. Again, this is an official document. I'm sure there's still people that are going to bicker back and forth about this debate about, if this is true or not. But they met the requirements, and if the FCC is eager to know if they're telling the truth or not, the FCC should pay a third party to test it. Pay somebody neutral. Pay a Root Metrics or pay Open Signal, somebody out of your money to test it to verify those numbers. So this is also a very important one that we got to talk about. In-home broadband deployment. This is the one that's really going to hurt cable, I feel. T-Mobile has exceeded each of the 3-year commitment metrics for its in-home broadband service. Through a combination of customer direct mail and TV advertising, the marketing of T-Mobile's 5G home internet offering reached well over 9.6 million eligible households. Again, investing because they know they can take share, and they have that come first type of opportunity because they are right now the largest at scale with the mid-band deployment, including at least 2.6 million rural households as of the 3-year anniversary of the merger closing. In addition, T-Mobile substantially exceeded the 3-year commitment metrics for supported households nationwide and rural areas. So fixed wireless access is a huge part of that success story, and I think that's the one that's really kind of got cable panicking a bit, especially Charter, as they spent billions of dollars expanding its cable footprint into these rural areas. And here comes T-Mobile with FWA, and they just take those customers. T-Mobile has not stopped and will not stop achieving the performance metrics specified in the merger order commitment. As of today, T-Mobile has deployed 5G network coverage to over 98% of Americans, 330 million people, and ultra capacity 5G to approximately 300 million pops. So let's look at some of the other statistics. This is some interesting ones. So I wish The ones redacted we could see, like I said, but again, they did mark those black, so we can't see them. So this is the nationwide deployment. This is the from the second annual to the third annual, so you guys can see the percentage difference to see how they've increased. So as of the second annual report, low band 5G coverage area of the U.S. population, 94%. That increased to 97% in the third year. So, oh, actually, no, the requirement was 97%. T-Mobile reached 97.6%. So that's a good milestone. This is the interesting one, in my opinion. Mid-band coverage area of the U.S. population. The second annual report had them at 65%. The third-year milestone requirement was 75% from the FCC. T-Mobile reached 89.7%. So they scaled massively outside of their requirements. And from what I'm told, they continue to do so. So I wish the next ones we would have seen. I wish they would have left that open. 5G sites nationwide. That would have been a big one. And then also low band / mid band 5G spectrum averaged over all 5G sites deployed. That would have been a good one. T-Mobile said they would be at 200 megahertz by the end of 2023. They didn't release a article, so I don't know if they got there. But my guess is they did not get there. So the next one is the rural deployment, and that is a big one. You guys will see that. So as of the second annual report, the low band 5G coverage was at 84%. The required milestone was 85%. T-Mobile in the third annual report got to 89.7%. Huge. This is the big one where they really went big. As of the second annual report in the rural population, T-Mobile only covered 16% of the rural area population with mid-band. The milestone called for 55% at the third year mark. T-Mobile's third year annual reporting, they got to 60.5%. So they exceeded by 5% in the mid-band deployment for the rural population. So those are big milestones that they met. They still have a lot to catch up to get to that low band deployment. I don't know if they'll ever go there. I mean, that's another like almost 30% that they have to scale mid band to get to the 89% or almost 90%. Let's call it 90. Let's round up. So big milestones hit. I'll give them that. They have a ways to go. You know, they do have a ways to go, but they're getting there. And each and every year, they become a bigger and better competitor in these rural areas. So I wanted to share this one with you guys as well, the download speeds. So based on the drive test result, T-Mobile is pleased to report that it has met its 3-year commitment metrics regarding the percentage of U.S. population having access to download speeds of at least 50 megabits and 100 megabits. So as you can see below, the 3-year milestone requirement, percentage of the U.S. population with download speeds of 50 megabits at least, 75% of the U.S. population nationwide has at least 50 megabits. So that's a huge accomplishment as well. And then 63%, well, actually, never mind. The actual percentage is redacted. So the 3-year milestone requirement, they're supposed to get to 75% and 63%. That didn't show, but they said they met the requirement, and same with rural. T-Mobile is also pleased to report that it has achieved the 3-year commitment metrics concerning the percentage of rural population with access to at least 50 and 100 megabits per second download speed. So they didn't post that percentage in the third annual report, but they said they hit it. So, you know, I'll take their word for it. And like I said, if the FCC has any issues with that, they're going to have to pay for a third party to test this out, to verify. So a lot of this other stuff, as you can see, it's redacted. I wish we would have gotten that information. That would have been nice to get some insight. Maybe T-Mobile thinks there was some competitive advantage, so they didn't offer that information. But just to close out some commentary from me, and again, I'll leave this reporting in the comment section. I mean, in the description, so you guys can check out this report. So this is good from a competitive perspective. Is there more that T-Mobile can do? Of course. They can actually scale the network some more. There's a lot of areas out there still today where T-Mobile has no coverage at all, right? So we do have to take that into consideration. But as they continue to invest on an annual basis, this year's is a fresh new CapEx. Next year will be a fresh new CapEx. We can see them potentially getting to those areas, right? If that specific area or rural area wasn't planned in 23, they might get to it in 24. And if it's not in 2024, then it might be in 2025. And it's exciting, and it's actually in T-Mobile's best interest to get to these areas from a competitive standpoint, to address the addressable market that T-Mobile has been underpenetrated in, and to change T-Mobile's network perception once and for all. If people start seeing like, hey, T-Mobile works here, hey, T-Mobile works there, the mindset and the perception of T-Mobile will change in the consumer's mindset. It will happen by default. That's the best way to do it. You can do marketing all day long. You can do word of mouth, but actually building the network, scaling the network, that's what's really going to separate T-Mobile's perception from what it used to be to what it is now. I can already see it in my market. I have some smaller rural New Mexico areas that T-Mobile has expanded into, where previously they've had absolutely no coverage whatsoever, not roaming, nothing. They had no third-party roaming, nada. They had nothing. And now they have native 5G ultra capacity coverage. So again, that statement that I just made doesn't speak for the entire country. I know there's still areas out there that are uncovered by T-Mobile, but each and every year, you got to understand the wireless industry doesn't end today. It doesn't end tomorrow. Each and every year, T-Mobile gets better, and it brings a headache to Verizon and to AT&T as T-Mobile continues to scale their network and they start competing and taking customers in small market rural areas. So let me know what you think about this report. I think it's a pretty big milestone for T-Mobile that they were able to hit the 3-year milestones. In most cases, exceed them. So that's good to see. So let us know in the comments. If you are new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. Follow my social media outlets for more updates. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.